Anger, Divulgence, Insolence and Woe. Courtrooms are always packed with a manifold of human emotions. Courtroom cameras sometimes capture some rare, astonishing dramas that even Hollywood movies couldn't create. While few remained silent, others smirk and many others burst out in rage. In this video, we present to you the top 10 most dramatic courtroom moments. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Number 10. Diana Lovejoy. American fitness instructor and coach Diana Lovejoy's divorce case was one of a kind as it persuaded her to end her partner's life. Diana didn't want to share her son's custody or pay her husband the $120,000 forming part of their divorce agreement. She was accused of attempting to murder her husband, who fortunately survived it. She was sentenced to serve 23 years in imprisonment, and just as the sentence was read out, Diana lowered her head to the table before her, and just at the moment everyone heard the word guilty, she passed out. The judge ordered the courtroom to be cleared so that Diana could receive medical attention. Soon after, she was taken from the courtroom on a gurney, and one paramedic explained to the reporters that she had passed out from the shock. Number 9. Michael Madison. Madison was an American serial killer who murdered 3 young African-American women whose decomposing bodies were found wrapped in plastic bags around his suburban Cleveland home. 3 counts of aggravated murder were charged against him, and he was sentenced to life in prison without parole during the trial. The trial scene turned dramatic when Van Terry, the father of the 18-year-old Sherelda Terry, was called to deliver a victim impact statement. While speaking, he looked at Madison and the serial killer scoffed at him, which tempted Van Terry to lunge over the table to attack Madison. Luckily, the deputies avoided violence by reacting quickly and escorted him out of the courtroom. However, no charges were filed against Van Terry. Number 8. Tiffany Moss. Tiffany Nicole Moss was a devilish woman who abused her stepdaughter for several years and starved her to death. Moss was found culpable of all counts, including homicide, cruelty to children, and trying to conceal the death of 10-year-old Imani Moss by burning her body in a trash can. Tiffany and Iman Moss, Imani's father, originally tried to hide the crime. They plotted to tell the police that she had run away and then tried to burn her body to get rid of the evidence. Moss represented herself at trial and initiated no defense. She didn't make any opening statement or closing argument and called no witnesses. The court gave Tiffany an exemplary punishment. She was sentenced to die by execution. Tiffany Moss showed no emotion as the Gwinnett County jury delivered the death sentence. Her numb face looked extremely displeasing and obscene. Tiffany stood alone at her table as the verdict was read to her. There wasn't even a defense attorney present beside her. Tiffany was quite composed and there was no sign of remorse. She just nodded and quietly waited for the judge to finish reading. Number 7. Ignacio Rodriguez. Ignacio Rodriguez is the suspect in the death of his 4-month-old son. Rodriguez was arrested after his baby was found unresponsive at home. He allegedly fractured the child's skull, causing internal bleeding, and caused the baby to suffocate by laying him face down, and is now facing a capital murder charge. The court sentenced him to 50 years of confinement. The baby's mother, Angela Gonzalez, was allowed to confront Rodriguez about the death in court. The plot took an emotional turn when Angela defiled Rodriguez. Angela woefully told him how deeply Rodriguez's deeds hurt her, for which she won't be able to forgive him ever. When she started talking about her other child, Rodriguez insisted that she should tell their daughter only the truth. He yelled, "Tell her the whole truth, don't lie to her," and the court officials quickly removed Rodriguez from the courtroom. Number 6. Alan McCarty Jr. Alan McCarty Jr. was sentenced to 20 years for threatening to kill Judge Stasha Warren. McCarty believes Judge Warren is responsible for making him lose his kids in a custody case. He talked to the judge in very abusive language over the phone and cautioned her of shooting her. Police traced the call and McCarty was arrested and charged to court. But he wouldn't keep quiet. McCarty rained curses on Judge Matt Foxman, who presided over his case. McCarty refused to answer questions and invited Judge Foxman to perform oral sex on him. The judge politely declined and threatened to duct tape his mouth. McCarty wasn't moved by the threat and continued his outburst of curses. The judge added 10 days to McCarty's 20-year sentence for his profanities and curses. Number 5. Kiandria Cook. 18-year-old Kiandria Cook was found guilty when she and her 17-year-old boyfriend had used a dating app to set up a carjacking where the boyfriend reportedly shot the victim, leaving him injured. While standing in front of the judge for her involvement in the theft and shooting, she looked fiercely nervous. Cook cried out and her mother wailed in the courtroom as the verdict was being stated. Why did Cook's mother yell out in pain when the judge charged her with 20 years of imprisonment? Reportedly, the reason for this very emotional outburst is that there was a miscommunication with the assistant public defender where Cook and her mother were not expecting imprisonment. The verdict shattered Cook and she was seen shredded with fear and sorrow. Number 4. Jacob Larson. What Jacob Larson has performed in the courtroom is the most dramatic thing you have encountered. Larson was in court for violating a personal privacy order by stalking his classmate on Facebook with whom he was obsessed. He continued it for over a year and paid several visits to her place of work before she filed a restraining order against Larson. Though the trial started peacefully, irritating comments passed by Larson disturbed the judge, and he sentenced Larson to jail. Larson accused the judge of being buddy-buddy with the woman, which infuriated the judge and resulted in the punishment of 93 days in jail for Larson. He refused to be handcuffed and made to fight the court security. Seeing what Judge McBain did next was shocking. He quickly removed his robe, joined the struggle, and held down Larson until he was handcuffed. Number 3. Arthur Booth. Arthur Booth was a bright student who later became involved in drug gambling and petty crimes. In 2015, the 49-year-old was spotted driving a car that was reported stolen in a robbery. He was arrested and it landed him in Judge Mindy Glazer's Miami-Dade bond court, where his bond was set at $43,000 or a year in jail if he couldn't pay. However, just as the judge finished the verdict, she asked Booth if he went to Nautilus for middle school. Booth was dumbstruck and all he could say was, "Oh my goodness, oh my goodness." The judge recalled how she admired him in school and expressed how sorry she felt for his destiny. He even served 10 months in prison, but the unusual reunion with his classmate affected his life. He fought his addiction problems and made a better life for himself. Number 2. Dante Wright. One of the spookiest reactions made by a convicted person so far is the case of Dante. Dante Wright was only 17 when he brutally slayed a teenager named Jordan Clee. Dante admitted to shooting Jordan in the head while he and his 2 friends tried to rob him. Dante seemed an unusual psychopath, looking pleasant and proud of his crime. During the hearing, Wright stood casually in court, admitting all the allegations and remained calm. He didn't even show a nanoscopic tint of repentance at no point during the proceedings. He cheerfully listened to all the hearings, and he was seen enjoying the heartbreaking victim statement. The judge was disgusted by Dante's evil nature and charged him with a 25 to 52-year sentence. Number 1. Franklin Williams. Franklin was one of the most impolite and discourteous culprits who didn't know how and when to talk. He broke all the courtroom decorum and turned the court into a market. Franklin Williams appeared in court in 2018 to face charges including dithery theft and abduction. The judge was decorously following the proceedings. However, Williams didn't stop talking nonsense. Williams interrupted the prosecutor on the case and his defense attorneys dozens of times throughout his sentencing. The judge said Williams was a narcissistic individual who blamed others for his actions. Eventually, the judge got frustrated and ordered the deputies to place red tape over Franklin's mouth to keep him from interrupting the court. Williams was agitated by this and shouted for freedom of speech. However, Williams was pronounced guilty of 3 armed robberies and is now serving his 33-year-long sentence. After watching the video, did you realize that real court proceedings can be as dramatic as they are portrayed in movies? Do you find it right for judges to leave their code of conduct to rise against undisciplined convicts? How do you feel about the reaction of convicts after hearing their sentences? Were some of the responses incredibly disturbing? Please let us know your impression of the above cases in the comments section. Don't hesitate to subscribe to the channel for more court drama. Also, please click the bell icon to get notified of every new video on our channel. Bye! See you in our next video!